Hey everybody, this is Danny Gee. So today we're gonna talk about one of my new favorite books called Dory Phantasmagory, Dory Black Sheep by Abby Hamlin. This is for contemporary realistic fiction, and as of right now, of course, this looks like it's going to be crazy and not contemporary fiction, but I promise you that it is, because this whole book is about one little girl. Her name is Dory, but most people call her Rascal, and that's because she's kind of, I don't know, not crazy, but just hilarious. So she has two worlds. That's her real world, and this is her made up world. Like, my favorite thing is her fairy godmother is Mr. Nuggy, and she calls him from bananas. Like, that's super creative and hilarious. So the whole book is kind of set up like this, where they'll have quite a bit of text, but then also just lots of pictures, and it's a chapter book, so I mean it's about 150 pages long. But the whole book, the premise is that she has a best friend named Annabelle who can read really well, and a friend named George who cannot read very well. And she actually can't read very well either, so she is put into a reading group with George, and she hates it. And she pretends to read, but all George wants to do is mess around. So she doesn't progress at all while she's in that reading group. And for her, these stories start to come to life. So, for instance, she starts reading Baa Black Sheep, and she gets about 5 words in, and then she starts making up the rest of it. And so the black sheep escapes out of the book, and she names it Goblin. And suddenly, all of her imaginary friends, like Mr. Nuggy and this evil one named Mrs. Gobblecracker, they come in and they totally interact with this lost black sheep. And this entire time too, her mom's trying to get her to read to her 20 minutes a night, and she just can't stand it because she needs to return this lamb to the book. And she imagines herself going inside of books looking for the lamb's home. And she's getting this one was gross, pickled spiders from the bad guy. And it's just adorable. This one's a little comic section. So, I mean, looking at this, I know that I, as a kid, would have totally have read this, and it would have been an absolutely amazing experience, just because I feel like it's funny and there's enough pictures that it would draw me in, because I was a very visual kid, and it was relatable enough because I was totally this girl. Like, when my mom was trying to get me to read, I would totally yell at her to move your finger. I hate when you try to have me read the words that you're pointing at. You're sitting too close to me. That was totally me. So this is another one of her imaginary friends. That's Mary, I think. So anyway, so she goes over to her best friend Rosabelle's house, who is the really great reader, and she imagines her living in this castle, and she's very excited to go. And she goes over, and the house is actually kind of a mess, and she's kind of shocked because she imagined it being a castle this whole time. And she kind of has this moment of realization of why is she a better reader than me? Kind of a thing. And the little Batman in the corner is her little brother, and she puts on the Batman costume because the kids you wear it. It's definitely a chapter book in the sense that there's a lengthy plot, but it's great because it's all hysterical. And very relatable too. I remember those awkward moments when I would go to my friend's house, and then the friend would beat up their younger sibling, and that was a really awkward situation to be in. So, I mean, that was extremely realistic and very real situation. And then the mom picks up the little girl who's now wearing Old Rascal or Dory. She's wearing the Batman costume, and, she gets in trouble. So that's also very realistic. And so at the very end of the book, she decides that she's done with trying to hang out with George, the guy in her reading group who just doesn't care, and that she wants to read for herself, and she wants to understand these books that she has. So she surrounds herself in books, and the next day she has shown initiative and she's put in another reading group. And this girl that she's in a reading group, it's not her friend Annabelle, but it's this other friend, and she makes more friends. And I don't know. Then I guess the bad guy of the novel, her imaginary bad guy, goes from being a kid to an old lady. It's really more of a plot that you need to read because it's so long. But yeah, I mean, it's adorable and it's so funny. So definitely I'm thinking that someday when I have kids and I have to make them read, I'm gonna pull out a chapter book like this. It's just very cute and it makes you think a lot in the real situations. So that's my book presentation on a contemporary realistic fiction novel for children. So thank you. Bye bye.